Hey guys, welcome back. We are in Unit 4 today, AP Gov. Let's go ahead and get it done. Unit 4 is super short, super easy. Let's go ahead and do it. Topic 4.1 is American attitudes about government and politics. And one of the things we talk about there is political culture. Remember, political culture is going to be the beliefs and attitudes that most, if not all, Americans are going to have. And we're talking about if you go to Florida, if you go to Washington, if you go to Alaska, if you go to Maine, if you go to Iowa, they're going to say these are the things that are important. These are the things that America kind of binds America together, okay? And so we're not going to be talking about here like abortion rights. We're not going to be talking about gun control. We're not going to be talking about things like that because those are things that divide America, right? Talking about the things that we all think are important. It really comes down to four things is what we focus on in class, we're going to focus on here. That will be individualism. That is the responsibility. That is the thought that all people are responsible for their own actions. They're free to do as they wish, but they also need to take on the consequences of their decisions. So if you take on a loan, you should repay the loan. Okay, so you're responsible for it. Equality of opportunity. Remember, this is different than equality of outcome. Equality of outcome would mean we all get the same thing at the end. We all get a diploma. No matter how hard you worked or did not work, everybody gets a diploma. It's not what happens. Equality of opportunity, and on the other hand, is everybody has the chance to succeed. Whether or not you do succeed is a whole other story, but do you have the opportunity to succeed? Free enterprise, this would be the belief in a market economy, a market-based economy, in which the people get to decide what is bought, what is sold. We talk about this in micro as far as the three basic questions of econ would be what is sold, who it's sold to, and how it's produced. The people get to decide those things. We're in like a communist market. The government would decide. And then rule of law. We believe in rule of law that that no person is above the law, that everyone should be equal in the eyes of the law. So if you commit murder and you happen to have a lot of money, you should still go to prison. If you happen to do whatever and you are a famous person, you still should go to jail. So that's rule of law. So that's 4.1, super easy. 4.2 is political socialization, again, super easy. 4.2 is how do we obtain our beliefs? How do we obtain our political ideology? Where does it come from? How do we get that? How do we derive that? And there's a number of sources, but remember the number one agent, maybe number 1 through number 50, is the same thing, and that is going to be family/parents. And so that's going to be the most influential part. Now, remember, there are other things here that are going to be at play. You could be your friends, your religion, your school, the media. There are other places where you're going to get your value system, but the number one agent is normally family and parents, okay? Topic 4.3 is changes in ideology. There's two big things that we want to talk about here, and that's generational effects and life cycle effect. Generational effects is the fact that most young people are more liberal than older people, especially on issues that are the issues we call like social issues. When we talk about social issues, we're talking about things such as same-sex marriage, social issues, things like things that maybe would hinder equality of opportunity. People that are your age tend to be more liberal. People that are my age and above tend to be more conservative with that, and that's just the generational effect. Life cycle effect is going to be that people are going to focus on different political issues at different points in their life. So for me, I might be looking at Social Security, I might be looking at Medicare, things like that, because I'm getting closer to the retirement age. I've got some years left in me, but still, it's within 20 years, that's what I'm going to be looking at. For you guys, that's so far off, that seems like a pipe dream way, 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 way away. So for you guys, you're more looking at, college loans, how am I going to pay for things? And so we're going to be focused on different things because we're at different points in our life cycle. And then political events are going to impact your ideology as well. Remember, we talked about COVID-19 in class and how that might impact your ideology in the future. If you are in a family that's saying, how can they force masks on people? How can they do this? You might grow up thinking that, having kind of that slanted eye at the government, never truly trusting them, and really having more of that conservative viewpoint of towards the government. You might then, if you grew up in a different household where they're talking about how can they allow people back in the public without being vaccinated, how can this happen? Like, you might have a completely different viewpoint. But remember, it's all around that same political event. That same event is COVID. And now, how did that shape your views? That could go in different directions, but the source is what we're talking about, that political event. For my generation, a lot of it is based around 9/11 and my feelings about the government's role in public safety versus protecting civil liberties, things along those lines. And so it could go in different directions again. So that's the first 4 unit topics in Unit 4. And so then we shift, we kind of take a big turn here, and we go into measuring public opinion. Remember, public opinion is what does the public think about, a political candidate, a political policy, a flavor of potato chip, whatever it is, what's the public's opinion is what we're looking at. And measuring that, we've got a few different ways to do that. And we're going to do that in polls. Polls will be basically surveys that we're going to take to find out what the people are thinking. These are public opinion polls, okay? And so there's a few different kinds that we need to know. The first one's a benchmark poll. A benchmark poll is going to be put out by a campaign, generally right at the beginning of the campaign, sometimes prior to the campaign even being announced. And what they're going to do is they're going to find out, do the people know who my candidate is? What are my candidate's strengths? What are their weaknesses? What do we need to kind of maybe not talk about? What do we need to push in our policies towards the front so that we can kind of endear to the American people? So a benchmark poll is going to give a campaign kind of a snapshot of where are we starting from so that we know where we need to be. A tracking poll is generally going to be done by the media, and this is going to be done several different times. And so what you're going to do is you're going to be able to find out maybe who's winning in a race, who's losing in a race. We'll check in May, we'll check in June, we'll check in July, we'll check several times in August, several times in September, and we'll keep tracking that and find out, okay, what's happening? Is it remaining the same? Are people's minds changing? Things along those lines. And then we have entrance and exit polls. Now, these are exactly the same thing. The only difference between an entrance and an exit poll is did they talk to you on the way in, entrance poll, or on the way out, exit poll of your polling place. And so what they're going to do is they're going to, as you go to vote, somebody may stop and ask you, would you mind telling us who you voted for? Would you mind telling us why you voted that way? Can I get some demographic information from you? Some things very general ideas like this. And what's going to happen, this is on election day that they're going to do this. Obviously, you're going into your polling place. But what's going to happen is you're going to find out, they're going to find out, the voter behavior, who are people voting for, etc. They're going to be able to analyze how different demographic groups have voted. They're going to be able to predict election outcomes. And this is how they're able to say, it's 7 o'clock, the polls have just closed. Illinois is being called for Joe Biden. It's instant before the votes are even counted. They're saying, here's who we are projecting as the winner based on their entrance exit poll data. And so that's kind of what we're looking at for that. As we evaluate public data, remember that we need to have from our population, which would be all of the people available in our survey, we're going to talk to a sample, and that sample for the American voting people should be between 1,000 and 1,500, which seems low, but remember we're looking for a stratified sample, which means we're going to be looking across races, across genders, across all of these different things to try to find a true makeup of America. And then we're also looking to have the sample be random, that everybody in that big population has a chance to be chosen. And so those are some things we're looking at to have a a scientific poll. It needs to be random, it needs to be stratified, and then it needs to be large enough to 1,000 to 1,500 generally, in order for us to be able to make the predictions on the whole. And then remember, within that, then we're going to have a margin of error, and that margin of error is generally for a scientifically done poll in America, 3%, which would mean that if you're within 3% of somebody, you are statistically tied with them, because we're not sure of where that data actually is. With the whole population, we're pretty sure it's within 3% of what we're saying it is, but that's how that would go from there. Ideologies of political parties, super easy. Liberals tend to be Democrat to the left, and Republicans tend to be conservative to the right. And so a liberal is going to look for more government involvement in regulation in the marketplace. They are going to, if we go back to our political ideologies, they are going to believe in individualism, that you are responsible for your actions, but they're also going to recognize that sometimes events in the world happen. Maybe COVID-19 happens and you've lost your employment. Maybe you shouldn't have to pay back that full loan. So they believe kind of in that safety net, where a conservative is going to say, sorry that happened, but remember, you're responsible for your own actions. They're going to have a little bit different take. Equality of opportunity, a conservative is normally going to say that we do have equality of opportunity. They're going to believe a little bit stronger that it already exists, where a liberal will say, hey, there's still some work to be done here to make sure that everyone has that equal playing field to start. Free enterprise, again, like I said, liberals are going to more believe in that government involvement, that the government should get involved here and there in the economy, where a conservative is going to believe in much more hands-off from the government. Maybe if there's like a monopoly forming or something like that, but otherwise hands-off. And then both are going to believe pretty strongly in the rule of law. So as we move forward then, 4.9, Keynesian economics versus supply side economics. Keynesian is going to be when we're looking at an increase in government spending to stimulate the economy. So remember, what we're looking at is the government is going to be trying to create jobs. The government is going to try and do things in order to try to stimulate the economy. Or supply side economics, this is where the government should get out, should step aside, cut taxes, stop doing things, and that way that money can kind of circulate within the people. And that is what's going to stimulate the economy. Remember, both of them are theories of the best way to kind of overcome economic recession. The difference between fiscal and monetary policy then, fiscal policy is going to be spending, tax and spending. This is what Congress is in charge of. Remember, the president is going to sign off on things because Congress passes laws. But then monetary policy is going to be the money supply and the interest rates, and we talked about that with the Fed. And the Fed is going to lower interest rates and in order to increase the money supply, or they're going to raise the interest rates to decrease the money supply. And that depends if we're in inflation or deflation, what's going on at the time. Yeah, that's what I've got here for Unit 4. Pretty quick, pretty simple. Hopefully you guys thought it was as simple as I do. So that's it for today. Be good to each other, and remember to do something for someone else today, and we'll see you in class. Be well.